talking about infection control practices and operation theater protocols and design. Now, this talk is useful to you even if you are going in for NABH or not. So I think so. This is a talk after this session which will really benefit anyone who's attending this. Over to you, Dr. Kumar.
So is my slide seen? Am I audible?
Yeah, slides are seen. You're audible.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Thank you. Good morning and a warm welcome to all. It is a great pleasure to be with you in this IC, and it's good to be in the IC also. So my topic is on operation theater design and hospital infection control. These topics by itself can be talked for a whole day. So I'll try to concise these two topics in the next 15 minutes, and I'll be running through some slides and I have a couple of videos also. If they don't play, just let me know so I will skip them. So news like this are becoming more common now, and any health-related issue is caught by the media very commonly. And what we need to understand is that having an infection in your practice is not a crime, but if that has occurred because of not following certain protocols, then it is viewed seriously by the court of law. So the main intent of this talk is to help all ophthalmologists and hospital administrators to define a hospital infection control program, which could be not only beneficial for the patients, but also for the staff which are working in the hospital. Okay, evolve an antimicrobial policy, and more important, also teach them about biomedical waste disposal, which is an important legal entity, and also take importance on staff education. So I'll run through the operation theater design. However small or large your theater is going to be, there are certain basic factors which need to be considered before going into the construction. They are the location of the theater, the zone-wise distribution, and space allocation for instrumentary, and so on. There are certain points which are usually neglected till the end the theater is constructed. They are the ventilation standards, making the theater differently able-friendly. And most of the time, we find that the emergency exit and fire exits are not given importance. The whole theater is constructed, and then they think about all those things. So these are the factors which need to be considered before you even start doing your operation theater. Constructing a theater is a multidisciplinary approach, and it needs collaboration from all these people. You being the main a leader of the army have to give inputs to all these engineers and tell them what you need. Only then you'll be able to get exactly how you have dreamed your theater to be. So there are 4 zones in an operation theater, which is commonly known as protective, clean, aseptic, and disposal zone. We'll go and look into each one of this in brief. So the protective zone is basically the zone where every person is allowed to enter with their street clothes. And if you're planning to have a restroom, it should have to be in this zone. It also consists of stores, post-operative and pre-operative rooms. The clean zone is basically an intermediate between the protective zone and the aseptic zone. You can incorporate the stores room, the equipment, and the maintenance in these areas. The main area is called the aseptic zone, which is a sanctum sanitorum. You can also include the scrub room into this. If you're in a smaller setup, like an ophthalmic setup, it is always to include the scrub room also into the aseptic zone, or it could be a part of the clean room also. The disposal zone is another place which is usually neglected in smaller hospitals, but it adds sense to include a disposable area so that all the unsterile goods could leave the theater through this directly into the public corridor. The other area that needs to be considered in the larger setups are the pre-operative area, the holding area, the manifold area, and the theater sterile supply unit. In smaller setups like the ophthalmic setup, sometimes it is not needed to have a separate theater sterile supply unit. You can probably include it with the OT or adjacent to the OT. This is one of the most important place in any operation theater complex, because this is what is going to supply all the sterile goods into the theater. This is a view of an ophthalmic theater sterile supply unit, where in one end of this CSSD area, you receive all the unsterile equipments. They are clean, washed, and there's an assembly on the tray where it reaches the other end, where it is packed and put into a double door autoclave. So this autoclave opens into the other area, which is adjacent to the theater, and hence the flow of the sterile and unsterile goods is not disturbed. So going into the hospital infection control, these are the topics in which I'm going to talk about, starting from the assessment of the patient, going on to hand hygiene, and going all the way through biomedical waste disposal and staff management. So the initial thing to be considered in any hospital infection control is to find out the source of the infection, because once you find the source of the infection, the other things are quite easy. So what are the areas from which an infection could spread to a patient, starting from person-to-person contact, clothing, environment, airborne, hospital staff could also be carriers. One of the most important thing I would like to highlight here is rare common source outbreak. We in ophthalmology use a lot of consumables which are shared among patients. So this could also be one of the commonest cause of common source outbreaks in our practice. The antibiotic policy is very important because the hospital administrators have to sit about, list the number of diseases or the infection they treat, and form an antimicrobial agent which is being used for it as type 1, as the first line defense and second line defense. And this choosing of the antimicrobial agent should be based on some scientific papers and the common microbe that is available in that particular area. And it's important that all the doctors use the same molecule for that particular infection. Any deviation has to be monitored. So these are the common terms if you come across. Cleaning, disinfection, and sterilization is what we're going to talk about in the future slides. The importance of personal protection devices need not be overemphasized in this pandemic area, and it is important for the hospital administration to make sure that the right quantity of PPE is available to all the people and the staff available in the hospital. In this pandemic, there is no difference in the PPE usage between an OPD staff and a theater staff. In fact, all patients should be considered infective until otherwise proved is the old terminology. And we have to say that all people are infective unless otherwise approved. The importance of hand wash need not be overemphasized. These are different types of hand wash available. It is always important that you do a complete hand wash and a feet wash also before you enter into any clinical specific areas, not alone the OT, but also into your OPD. These are the 5 timings of hand wash as listed by the WHO, before you come and contact the patients, after an aseptic swab, and so on. The environmental cleanliness is also very important because it is being proved beyond doubt that the environment can also be one of the sources through which infection spread to our patients. So we have to identify all the high-risk areas in your hospital, which might start right from the parking lot and go into your theater also. These areas has to be identified, a proper protocol and a process has to be defined, and a proper surveillance has to be done to make sure that the environment is being kept clean. A spillage kit is very important. All your staff has to know what a spillage kit is, the blood and body fluid spillage, the method of cleaning, segregating the area has to be taught to all your hospital staff. And cleaning any environmental surface, medical or non-medical, always follow the 3-bin technique where you use an RO water or a distilled water, where a clean linen cloth or a mop is immersed sequentially, and the figure of 8 method of cleaning is employed. These are the common disinfectants that could be used. I have just listed out the frequency in which the high-risk areas has to be cleaned on a daily basis. The most important thing I would highlight here is that the refrigerator cleaning is mostly neglected in most of the hospitals, and this has to be taken care of. Sodium hypochlorite is the most economical and the most commonly and the most effectively disinfectant available. Here I have given you a chart of how you could prepare a 1% sodium hypochlorite to different raw materials that are available to us. So before you enter into your theater, make sure that you switch on the air conditioning to reach the parameters of temperature and humidity at least 1 hour before you enter your theater. Make sure all the parameters are complete before you enter your theater. And once you enter, make sure you use an aldehyde-free, alcohol-based disinfectant and a clean, lint-free cloth to wipe all the surfaces, making sure that you don't use the same side of the lint-free cloth to wipe repeatedly. Then once you transfer all the surgical bins into the theater, the head nurse should ensure that all the indicators are checked before going on to don the PPD and prepare the Mayo table. And an important point to mention about the medicine storage is that all the medicine should be stored as per the manufacturer guidelines, and all the refrigerated medicines should be stored in the particular temperature so that the temperature, humidity are continuously monitored. It is also important that you put in a data logger, which are very easily available now, so that you'll be able to record the variations in temperature on a daily basis. The instruments that are not used very commonly should be stored in an area where the physical parameters are closely monitored to prevent mold formation, and it's a good practice to store them under UV chamber also. This is the data logger of my refrigerator, which shows the variation in temperature, which is within the standard limit over a week's time. The engineering control is the most important, the most effective part of infection control, which simply means that you're going to block the pathogen from entering the main source. A simple example could be an exhaust fan, and a better example which holds good in our particular thing will be your HVAC system, or the heating, ventilation, and the system. The HVAC system consists of 3 parts: a hand handling unit, a compressor, and a laminar airflow through which the air is cleaned, filtered by a set of 10 microns and a 3 micron filter, and it is blown through an air blower into the theater from the ceiling, so that you get a uniform laminar flow of air from the theater across the tables, carries all the passengers floating around the theater into the return ducts, which are usually placed around 1.5 meters above the flow level. So disinfectant and sterilization of the instruments is very important. So this is a cycle through which all the instrument goes through. Once you purchase an instrument or it reaches your place after it is being used, it should be cleaned, disinfected, inspected, and if it is found faulty, it should be disposed through proper biomedical waste disposal or returned to the manufacturer. This is very important. Then they are packed, sterilized, stored, either for further usage or it goes back into the theater. So it's very important to follow the manufacturer guidelines of how to pack these instruments and how to sterilize the instrument to be more effective in the sterilization process. So once all the instruments which are used should be received in a separate tray, and they should leave the theater immediately and not be stored in the theater while the other case has been carried out. The instrument then should be processed in an ultrasonic cleaner so that all the blood and body fluids are separated, and then you follow the 3-bin technique where they are scrubbed sequentially in a distilled water preferably before they are cleaned, and they are air dried before they are packed. Packing should be done in either 3 forms, either with linen, paper plastic pouches, or non-woven paper as per the GSM listed here. It is a good technique to place all the trays vertically as shown here so that there's a steam penetration all around. The autoclave principle is common to everybody, as we know that the water boils when the vapor pressure equals the atmospheric pressure. There are 3 different types of autoclaves which we use in a clinical practice, and based upon the type of load which you are going to process, you have to use a gravity autoclave, which is useful in non-porous and the non-hollow instruments. The pre-vacuum and the pulse vacuum basically removes the air inside the autoclave to be the steam process more effective. Then whatever autoclaving you've done, quality assurance of station is very important. There are 3 basic parameters: the physical indicators, chemical indicators, and the biological indicators. These are all the indicators which has to be used to make sure that your sterilization process is effective. This is a small tabular column I have listed how frequently one has to use all these indicators. There is no clear consensus of how frequently they should be used. We basically follow the American standards where every cycle has to be done with these indicators. So this is a small video which shows how a biological indicator has to be used. I hope the video is playing. Please let me know if it's not playing so that I can skip on this video. So the biological indicator has to be placed inside the autoclave the way it is packed. One has to be kept outside and one processed in the autoclave. After the autoclave is done, both the indicators are taken. The inner tube is broken as shown here, and they are incubated in a biological indicator incubator for around 57 degrees Celsius for 48 hours. It is very important to break the inner tube, otherwise you will make the whole process is a waste. So after they are incubated, you will find the non-autoclaved vial turning yellow, showing there's a growth of the bacteria, whereas the one that is processed does not change in color. This is the only biological indicator, the only indicator which proves that your autoclave has worked properly. So there are separate biological indicators for ETO and steam sterilization. Before you induce a new autoclave into installation, make sure that you have 2 biological indicators which has to be negative before you start using your autoclave. A class 5 autoclave is equivalent to a biological indicator, and this is a perfect look of a biological indicator. These are the manufacturer guidelines which shows what is a negative and what is positive of a biological indicator. Please follow this and make sure that you read it every time before you start your surgery. The Bowie-Dick test is another important test which has to be done before you start putting an autoclave. It should be done in an empty autoclave. The paper or the strip should be packed in an envelope technique in a linen. as shown here.
This can give you some idea at 1 month, but just
and ensure that you run the linen inside an empty autoclave, because this basically ensures that all the air inside the autoclave is removed and make sure that the paper is changes color. You need not run the entire autoclave cycle. The dry time is not needed. Initial temperature is reached, then you can go ahead. So this is then a chart which shows the troubleshooting of the Bowie-Dick test. So this is the class 6 indicator. So I'll finish another 5 minutes. See, the class 6 indicator is very important whenever you have a CN hollow instrument. The most important thing and the common mistake done here is the way you fold the indicator. The indicator has to be folded inwards as shown here and not outwards, because it's very important, because most of the time you'll find if the indicator is folded outwards, the test is positive even with the initial autoclave cycle before it gets completed. Then this should be packed as shown here. Make sure you use a medical grade sealant to close this, which is actually 3 centimeters in length, and then it is autoclaved. So this is the class 6 indicator, how this should be used. If you're using only porous or linen, use the Bowie-Dick test. Hollow instrument and porous instrument, use the PCD test. Then surveillance is quite important. OT methodological survey, water culture is quite important, and it's be done at least minimum twice a week. Biomedical waste segregation at source is very important. Segregate everything at source, measure them, weigh them, and list them, and submit all this in your website or to the PCB. Reuse policy is very important. All the materials and instruments which you are reusing has to have a policy according to the manufacturer guidelines. And in case of a sterilization failure, make sure that you recall the instruments on which the patient has to be used, and also examine them to make sure the infection does not spread. Pre and post prophylaxis exposure is important, and all staff has to be immunized. And finally, the most important one is staff training, because without this, none of the hospital infection protocols can find its place. These are some of the quality indicators. The hospital can define the quality indicators which they like and go ahead with it. Thank you.